Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel here. I'm your host, the HOD of the PSP. Like, share, as usual, subscribe to the channel, enable notifications to receive all the updates from these episodes and segments of the podcast, as well as the match recaps and all other content on the channel. Follow us on social media. I'm at PSP on Twitter, PSP on Instagram, and listen to this on Spotify, Google Podcast, or any other platform. And we're here to review what happened in the Champions League in Africa over the last 3 days or so. Of course, the first round of group stage action kicked off on Friday. 6 games were played over the course of the weekend, 2 still to go. Of course, they will be played in later dates. The start was on Friday, and it was from Group D. It was Zamalek facing MC Alger. This was, pretty... I don't want to say it's boring. It was boring. Let's be fair. The runners-up of last time, Zamalek, played host to MC Algiers. The game wasn't exactly, wasn't competitive. It wasn't exactly entertaining. There was not a lot of chances, particularly in the second half. The game almost died down at death in that in that half. Zamalek wanted to win in the first half, but MC Alger played with a 3-4-2-1, something similar to what Atalanta did. They looked, pretty compact. They almost scored Zamalek on the counter a couple of times, but in the second half, as I mentioned, the game died down and almost nobody wanted to score, and it looked like everybody wanted a draw. Which, doesn't bode well, really. Zamalek, of course, would take solace in the fact that they were the better side, but they have a very, very tough test against Tunget. And why I say it's a very tough test? Because in the other game of that group, in Group D, Espérance de Tunis, the 2018-2019 champions, the club that I support, almost gave me a heart attack in that game against Tunget. They were 1-0 down against Tunget, 33 minutes, with Sila, Jibril Sila scoring the first goal, an equaliser from Taha Yassin Khnisi from a penalty in the 45th minute, and then Khalidou Basit Abdul, the new recruit, managed to add the second goal. But in between those goals, it was a tough game for Espérance. They couldn't find a lot of space in the first half. In the second half, they pushed up a little bit more, and they almost got caught on the counter a couple of times. It was really, really worrying. The signs were there. The points were almost lost and won on certain details, because in between the two goals, Espérance de Tunis didn't do a lot, and Tunget did, very, very well in the game, and credits for them, for their performance. They really had a terrific game, going away from home to a bona fide favourites to win the Champions League, and then, they give that performance. I watched a couple of highlights for them. They're not a bad team by any stretch of the imagination, and again, as I mentioned in the preview for that game, they are third in the Senegalese league, and, they're a decent side. Defensively, they're a decent side, and they proved it. And they didn't prove it by crowding out in the box or something. They proved it by positioning themselves really well, closing down pretty good, and pressing when they need to press, and moving up high when they needed to move up high. Like, they actually played a very equal game to Espérance de Tunis, and I recommend them for that. But Espérance still overpowered them, and Khalidou Abdul Basit with an easy finish, I would say. The goal slipped, so 99% it's on the goalkeeper. But still, great call for the ball. The cross from Ben Ramdan was brilliant, and the header was just stupendous from him. For his first goal for Espérance is in the Champions League. How important is that for him, for the club, and for the other players around him? That is going to be good, and that felt good for him. Of course, he could be the new, Michael Enarama. It could be Yannick Njang for Espérance. Those two players were really incredible, and he could be really, really good. Espérance, of course, those 3 points give them the top of the table spot in this first round before going to Algeria in the next round. That will be against MC Alger. It's going to be a hard game on the 23rd of February when all of these games are going to be taking place. Of course, all the games of the next fixture are going to be played in one day. All the games will take place on the 23rd of February, at least for the moment. From Group D, we go to Group C. One match was played in that group. It was Horoya versus Petro Atletico. Horoya, of course, managed a 2-0 2-0 win against Petro Atletico at home, an easy game. They dominated really, and they didn't have a lot to worry about. 2-0 it ended. Nikiema with the first goal from a penalty, then Yakuba Bari with the second goal, adding insult to injury. 2-0 for Heroic Conakry. They take the top spot of the table, but that, of course, is very, very symbolic because Wydad Casablanca still hasn't played their game against Kaizer Chiefs. It is postponed to a later date at the moment for COVID-related reasons and for travel restrictions reasons as well, from South Africa to Morocco because, of course, of the new strains of the COVID-19. From Group C, we go to Group B, and, Mamelodi Sundowns managed to defeat Al-Hilal Omdurman 2-0 in Johannesburg. Of course, the two goals, it was a game that was decent enough for Al-Hilal Omdurman. They played a decent game. They conceded early thanks to Mo Salabuza in the 10th minute. They went up, they went higher looking for the equaliser, and Mamelodi Sundowns just bounced on the counter, and in the end they got the goal, and it got it at the worst time for Al Hilal. Just as they were pushing really high looking for the equaliser, almost getting close to equalising, Kermit Erasmus scores the second goal in the 90th minute to give Mamelodi Sundowns the all-important win from the substitute bench, of course, coming in for Timbazwane, scoring the second goal for Mamelodi Sundowns, giving them top of the table. As earlier in the day, in the other result and the other game of the week of the group, Tepe Mazembe were held to a draw by Sial Belouizdad, of course. With no fans, even the Mazembe Stadium, the Federici Bassa Maliba Stadium in Lubumbashi would seem like a neutral venue because of the fact there is no crowd in it, and that helped, I think, and that will help every team that will play there as long as there is no crowds. Sial Belouizdad had a decent game. They were really, going toe-to-toe with Mazembe, having a couple of chances, especially in the second half. Mazembe had chances in the first half, and it was a fair draw, reflective, I think, of the result of the game, and really, I think a pretty good sign of the fact that this is not going to be an easy group for Mazembe. Again, at least when there is no crowds in their stadium, it will not be the same, and it will not feel the same. 3 points for Sundowns in the top of their group, Mazembe and Belouizdad with 1 point, and of course Omdurman last with 0 points. The next fixture will see Al Hilal host Mazembe and Belouizdad hosting Mamelodi Sundowns. Interesting games to watch, in particular for Belouizdad. In Group A, one game as well was played. Al-Ahly vs Al-Mariq is going to be played tomorrow as I'm recording this on Tuesday. So it will be potentially, a very, very watchable game. Simba hosted or went away to Vita Club in Congo, and they managed a win. They managed a win away from home. Again, Vita Club in the 28th of September stadium, with that sometimes hosts to 100,000 people, and how I know that because Tunisia played in that stadium full to the rafters. Of course, even that stadium would feel like a neutral venue when there is no crowds, and Simba, played a really, really decent game from the spot. They scored in the 61st minute, just like Vita Club, just like in the game with Hilal Omdurman and Mamelodi Sundowns. Vita Club went forward looking for the opener, in this case, not the equaliser, and Simba just bounced on them, took advantage of their mistakes, and scored the only goal of the game, thanks to Chris Mugalo. 1 it ended for Simba, and they would take the 3 points in a group where there's Al-Ahly and Al-Mariq. Having 3 points in your pocket is really, really important, because it will give you a lot of advantage, because in the next week, in the next fixture, the second fixture, Vita Club are going to be travelling to Egypt to face Al-Ahly, and Simba are going to be travelling to Sudan, of course, to face Al-Mariq, depending on the result of the game that will take place on Tuesday. That will define what is going to be happening for in that group. So overall, it was a struggle for a lot of clubs. The favourites, let's say the classic favourites of this competition, Zamalek, Esperance, Mazembe, struggled to gain points. Mamelodi Sundowns, favourites. They're the only ones who got a comfortable win in the end, and it wasn't that comfortable, as I mentioned. Omdurman almost sneaked a point in there. Al-Ahly still to play on Tuesday, of course, and I mean, this is like the World Cup or like the Euros or any other tournament's first group stage round. It's just about the struggles, getting things underway, trying to, sort of work with the momentum of having to undergo Champions League group stage start in the middle of the season for most of them. Particularly for the North African clubs whose seasons are following the European model of going from the summer to the next May or so. So overall, this was this wasn't an interesting fixture. This wasn't an interesting round in the group stages. I'm still waiting for the second one and the third one to get going and to get real competition for the spots that will qualify to the quarter final. Of course, the next fixture will be on starting the 23rd and 24th of February. It will be Simba facing Al-Ahly in Egypt. That is in Group A. Al Merrikh hosting Vita Club, as I mentioned. In Group B, it will be Belouizdad hosting the Sundowns, and Mozambique traveling to face Al-Hilal Durman. In Group C, it will be Horoya traveling to face Kaizer Chiefs in South Africa as Petro Atletico host Wydad in Angola. And Group D, Esperance Tunis are going to be traveling to Algeria to face MC Alger as Zamalek travel to Senegal to face Tanguy. That is it for the Champions League review for the weekend. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, like, share, comment on this video, subscribe to the channel, enable notifications to receive all the updates from this channel and the podcast, all the other episodes, these match recaps, the reviews, everything. Follow us on social media, SidePSP on Twitter, PageSidePod on Instagram. Listen to this on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any other platform, and subscribe to the channel, most importantly on YouTube. I was your boy, the HOD of the PSP, and the next time, see you soon, goodbye.